It would be impossible for me to review all aspects of grammar and syntax in this little short video, but I do want to make sure I hit on the basics so that you can figure out where your own weaknesses are and what you might need to review before you move forward in learning the syntax of American Sign Language. First, you need to understand what a noun is and what a verb is. Nouns are the people, places, things, and ideas that do things in our sentences. Then that doing is the verb. So if I have a sentence like, Mary jumps the fence, then Mary is a noun and the fence is a noun. And then the verb explains what one noun does to another, jumps. If I have the sentence, Maria is a doctor, then you have Maria, which is a noun, and you have doctor, which is a noun. And then you have is, which is not an action, but it's the relationship between the two nouns. Similarly, if I said, you seem tired, well then I have you, which is a noun. It's actually a special type of noun called a pronoun because it stands in place of your name or in place of the actual noun itself. Things like he, she, it, you, me, things like that. But you would function as a noun there because you is the thing that seems, and then seem is the verb. Now, it's not really an action, but it's the relationship. It's going to say something about the noun. It's going to do something in relation to the noun. So if I have you, the noun, seem, then you have tired. Now, tired is not a noun. Tired is a descriptor, which brings us to our second category. Descriptors can be adjectives. These are words that describe nouns. Adverbs, these are words that describe verbs, or determiners. Determiners you've already touched on a bit in morphology, as you have some of these other categories. And determiners, as you know, tell us which ones we are talking about. Is it all people, all boys, some boys, every boy, my friend, your friend, all friends, the friends, that friend, which one? These are determiners. These function as descriptors as well. Now, descriptors can sometimes come before the noun or the verb, and they can sometimes come at the end of sentences. So if you say John is tired, well then tired is a descriptor describing John, and the verb again just puts the relationship between the two. So far we have nouns, the people, place, things, and ideas, verbs, the actions or relationships, adjectives, which describe the nouns, adverbs, which describe the verbs, and determiners, which tell us which nouns we're talking about. There are other parts of speech as well. Conjunctions that show connections between things. So if I want to say not just that Maria is tired, but that Maria and Jill are tired, then the and puts them both Maria and Jill together in one category. You have interrogatives. Interrogatives are the question words that we have: who, what, when, where, why, how many, how much. Exclamations are words that don't really have any grammatical relationship to anything else in a sentence. They just sort of express an idea all of themselves, all on their own. So if I were to say something like, oh gosh, well, oh gosh is an exclamation. Our curse words often function as exclamations. Oh shit, that would be an exclamation. And then we have modals and helping verbs. These are usually work with the verb to make a more specific idea. So if, for example, I wanted to say not just that I am tired, but I could be tired. Well, could be tired has could as a helping verb, or a modal, we call them in linguistics generally. If I wanted to say that you read well, I could change that to say, you did read well. Now in that case, in English it's not a modal, but it's a helping verb. It's a verb that goes with the word read to somehow modify, somehow make more specific its meaning. We're going to talk more about modals later, so don't worry too much if you don't have a great understanding of those. That said, you do want to make sure that you can identify very easily nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, and determiners. Those are going to be the building blocks of what we do for the rest of the unit. Now, another thing we need to consider is what are the specifics of the sentence. So what are the specifics of the way that the nouns relate to one another? We can identify what is a noun, but how do we identify what noun does what in the sentence. And that's where the idea of subjects and objects comes into play. So if you take a sentence like Maria kicked the ball, then we can identify the nouns Maria and ball, and we can identify the verb kick. But which ball is doing the kicking? Which noun is doing the kicking and which noun is being kicked? Well, in the sentence, Maria kicked the ball, Maria is the subject, the one doing the kicking, and then the ball is the object, the thing being kicked. If we have a sentence that doesn't involve any people, we can still have subjects and objects. For example, if I gave you the sentence, the desk contains a computer and a printer. The desk contains a computer and a printer. Then in that sentence, the desk is the subject. It's the thing doing the containing. And then the objects in the sentence are the computer and the printer. You have computer, printer, both objects joined together by a conjunction. So in that sentence, even though there's no person, you still can have a subject and an object because you still have the thing that's doing the verb, the desk containing, and then you still have the things that are being contained, computer, printer. Now some sentences don't have objects at all. They might simply just have a descriptor. So if you had a sentence like, the picture is beautiful, then you have the picture, which is a noun. You have is, which is a verb describing the relationship between picture and what's coming next. And then pretty or beautiful, which is an adjective that's describing the picture. Similarly, if you had a sentence like, the ball rolled slowly, well then you might be tempted to see subject, verb, and object, but that wouldn't be right. You have the ball, which is a subject. You have rolled, which is a verb, but then slowly is a descriptor that's it's an adverb that's describing the verb, how the ball rolls slowly. So make sure that you don't see three parts of a sentence and automatically assume it's subject, verb, object. Now, finally, you can have topics in sentences. Topics are like mini questions. Do not think of them as something like the main idea of a sentence. That's not what a topic is. A topic instead is a particular grammatical feature when you sort of ask a small question and then go on to answer the question yourself. So if you were in a discussion with someone and you heard the person mention Maria, and you know that Maria is John's girlfriend, then you might say, oh, Maria, that's John's girlfriend. Well, that oh, Maria that you say, where you're recognizing that Maria is who's being talked about, is sort of a little question where you're bringing up Maria and then you're going to say something about her. That's John's girlfriend. That's what a topic is in linguistics. When you bring up an idea with a little question expression in some way, and then you go on to say something more about it. Do not think of the topic as the main idea of the sentence or the subject of the sentence in a non-grammatical sense, right? Topic and subject in linguistics and in grammar are very specific ideas that have to do with how they function in the sentence, where they are, not with what the main idea of the sentence is. So let's practice with a couple. I see the apple. Let's see if you can identify the subject and the object of this sentence, if there is an object. In this sentence, you have I, which is the noun, in this case it's a little pronoun, that's doing the seeing. And then you have the apple, the thing being seen. So I is the subject, and the apple is the object, and of course see is the verb. The office contains 3 desks. In this sentence, you have a subject and an object, even though there are no people. The subject is the office, which is the thing doing the containing, and then the 3 desks is the object, the things being contained. My friend is in the park. This is a complicated sentence that contains a little bit more structure than the others because you have my friend, which is the subject, is, which is the verb, and that's connecting the idea of friend and park. Now, park is part of another little phrase called a prepositional phrase, in the park, which we'll talk about a bit later. So, my friend is a subject, is would be the verb, and then park could be considered an object because it's part of the prepositional phrase, but the whole phrase in the park is a descriptor, which is describing where the friend is. Then Martita walked slowly. In this you have Martita, the subject, doing the walking, walked, the verb, and then slowly is a descriptor that's describing the walking. It's an adverb in this case, describing walking. In the next set of sentences, the movie? I loved it. In this, you have a topic, the movie, a little mini question, and then you go on to comment on the movie. I, subject, loved, verb, and it, an object. In this case, it being a pronoun, which is substituting for the term movie. Okay, now I recognize that this lesson has not done a comprehensive job of explaining everything about linguistics, the linguistics of English or the grammar of English, everything you probably should have learned in middle school and high school. But that said, I hope it's giving you enough information for you to see what you do understand and what you don't, for you to go and look for some more background on the subject before we delve deeper and before some of your areas of ambiguity and areas that you're a little weaker on cause you trouble in your ASL. So if there's anything you're missing right now, go find out about it, go look it up, make sure you can identify all the terms that I've used here so that you're ready to use them in the next few lessons as we learn more about ASL syntax.